Please join now in singing our gathering hymn, Enough. Welcome everyone to First Unitarian Church in Portland, Oregon. Our mission here is to nurture the individual spirit and together build the beloved community. We're so glad that you decided to join us this morning. I want first to introduce our guest preacher this morning. The Reverend Tracy Springberry is the minister of the West Hills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Portland. She's also served congregations in Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. She's also an author. She's published extensively and is the editor, co-editor, and a contributor to the new book, Chaos, Wonder, and the Spiritual Adventure of Parenting, an anthology which I recommend. Tracy's installation at West Hills was on March 8th of this year, one of the last in-person religious services before COVID-19 forced us to move to a distance. Tracy, I am so glad to welcome you here in person to share worship with us this morning. And just a couple of announcements. Next Sunday, I'll be doing one of my question and answer services, especially for those of you who are newer to our community, but really for everyone. If you have a question about First Unitarian, or about our faith, about our history, or about our theology, a question that you have been wanting to hear me try to answer, I encourage you to send that question. Send that question in, send it to Q&A at First Unitarian Portland. And then members of my Ministerial Relations Committee will take those questions and put them into a stack for me. And next Sunday, our message will be created out of the questions that you send. And especially if you're a young person, I want to ask you specifically to think about questions that you have. And then I would love it if you and your parents could video that question for me, because that's where I would like to start that service next week. After the service this morning, I hope that you will join fellow congregants for a virtual social hour. Note that there will be a general social hour as well as one specifically for families in our religious education program. At the end of the service, you'll see QR codes and tiny URLs that can link you to those social hours. Community is very important here, and we're working hard to make community real while we're at a distance. So I hope that you will give that virtual social hour a try. Once again, welcome to everyone here at First Unitarian. As I light our chalice on the chancel here this morning, I invite you to light a chalice at home if you have one, or simply to light a chalice in your hearts as we enter into worship in this large virtual community. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love. Please listen to our quartet now.
Won't you bring that dream to life? Oh Lord, I pray, deliver us from bigotry and hate. Please give shelter to the wayward children, comfort them and keep them safe. Oh Lord, I pray for a world with no weapons one day. Please give wisdom to the ones who lead us, help them find their way. Whoa, I'm praying that the love you showered down on us will lift us up and we will live as one. I know there'll come a day, I know you'll make a way. Please listen as I pray. Lord, I pray that in my lifetime there will come a day when the world will wake up with unclouded eyes. There'll be no more need to cry. Won't you bring that dream to life? Lord, I pray there will come a time when we all can open up our hearts and minds. You know, we're all the same inside. Won't you bring that dream to life? Won't you bring that dream to life?
Words of Gloria Anzaldúa. Soy un amaciamiento. I am an act of kneading, of uniting and joining, that not only has produced both a creation of darkness and a creature of light, but also a creature that questions the definitions of light and dark, and gives them both new meanings. Come now, and let us worship together. I invite you to join in singing our hymn, When Will the Fighting Cease?
When will the fighting cease? When will
Our responsive reading. Each of us brings a separate truth here.
We bring
the truth
of our own
life, our own story. We don't come as empty vessels, but as full people, each with our own story and our own truth.
We seek to add our truths and
add to our stories. This room is rich with truth, rich with experience. All manner of people are here, needy, joyful, frightened, anxious, bored. We all bring our truth with us. May we recognize the truth and the story in other lives other than our own. May we hear and honor the truths that all bring as we gather together. Together we have truths. Together we have a story.
Together we are a community.
Please join us in singing Spirit of Life.
Our story for all ages this morning will be offered by Kate Soski. Kate grew up in First Unitarian Portland, and she would have been the director of our Chalice Camp this summer.
Good morning. My name is Kate Soski, and today I'm going to be reading your children's story for all ages, and it is called Nappy Hair by Cara Olivia Heron and illustrated by Joseph Pegia. Enjoy. Uncle Mordecai told this story at the backyard picnic. Uncle Mordecai told it. The folks joined in between the lines. Little Jimmy, he taped it. And here it is, folks. Brenda, you sure do got some nappy hair on your head. Well, it's your hair, Brenda. Take the cake. Yep. And come back and get the plate. Don't you know? It ain't easy to come by that kind of hair. No, it ain't. You just can't blame Africa. It's willful. That's what it is. Them some willful, intentional naps all over your head, Brenda. Sure enough, your hair intended to be nappy. Indeed it did. I mean, combing your hair. Yep. It's like scrunching through the New Mexico desert in the heat of summer. That's the way. I mean, it's like crunching through snow. Yep. About a foot. No, 2 feet at least. Uh-huh. With 2 inches of crust at the top. I can hear it. Y'all know how it sounds when you crunching through snow like that? I can hear it. That's what her sounds like when she combs it out in the morning. Brother, you ought to be ashamed. Ashamed? Ashamed. No, I'm not ashamed. I'm proud. I'm proud. She's the only one in her school who knows how to talk right. Ain't she something? A rose among many thorns. I know it. Them old hardheads think they can talk English. Yep. But this Chile talks the king's English. I hear her. She talks the queen's English too. She can do it. But she, sure goddess, got some nappy hair on her head. Now why he's always got to go back to that, I'm not sure. And I'm not gonna tell you how she came up with that nappy hair. Brother, will you stop? Her hair was an act of goddess. Lord, listen to him now. An act of a goddess that came straight through Africa. Well, you see, the angels, they went up to this goddess. Here he goes again. The angels walk straight up to this goddess and they say to him, will you listen to me? Yep, I will. They say, my lady, my lady, my lady. Well, why you gotta be so mean? Why you gotta be so ornery? Why you gotta be so willful? Thinking about giving that nappy hair to that innocent little child. Innocent. Well, a sweet little girl like that, and you napping up her hair like you ain't got good sense in ya. That's what they said. Napping up her hair 5, 6, 7, 8 complete circles per inch. Brother, I'm talking 8 complete circles per inch of her hair. Please. And the angels, they tried to talk her out of it. Oh, yes, they did. But goddess, please. The goddess wanted herself some nappy hair upon this sweet earth. And that is how it was. So the goddess turned herself around, looked them angels square deep in the face. She said, well, get out of my way. This is my choice. It's the truth. And this Chile, well, this sweet little brown baby Chile, we hear you. She is going to have the nappiest hair in this world. And that is what she said. Ain't gonna be nothing they can come up with that is going to straighten this Chile's hair. What you gonna do? I'm talking about straightening combs. Can it really be? I'm talking about relaxers and processors. You said it. Ain't nothing going to straighten up the naps on this Chile's head. What you say? And it was done. Ha! So, here she comes. Well, sitting back in Africa, making plans. That's where it was. Squinching her eyes, and boy, was she looking deep. She was deep. Getting ready to come to America with them slaves. Sold your mama for a nickel. Yes, goddess, they did it. And your daddy for a dime. Like I said, they sold your mama for a buffalo. And that was the way that it was. It doesn't have to be this way. But here she comes. This nappy riding express coming on across the ocean from Africa. Wouldn't stop for nothing. She wouldn't stop for nothing. She danced right on through with all that hair. Didn't wait for nobody. Wouldn't stop, wouldn't mix, wouldn't slow down for nobody. Wouldn't do it. Every time they tried to mess with her hair, I can see it going down. She stomped, she kicked, she snuck on around and came on through. And that's what she did. I think she played basketball, football, basketball. Dribbling on down the line, she's the one. And when she was born, we remember. When we looked down in the cradle, what did we see? We all shout and jump back. Laugh and shout because I tell you she had the kinkiest, the nappiest, the fussiest, the most screwed up, the squeezed up, knotted up, tangled up, twisted up. Nappiest, I'm telling you she had the nappiest hair on this sweet, sweet earth. And that is the way that it was. And the goddess, well, the goddess in heaven, what you say, what she say. She looked down on the sweet, cute little brown baby girl. She looked at her. She looked at her and she said, I have done well. We have done well. I have got one nappy girl. And that is what she said. One nap on her hair is the only perfect circle in nature. Uncle Mordecai said, I got a cute little brown baby girl. And we keep talking. I got me at long last a cute little brown baby girl. Well, and she got the nappiest hair in this world. Ain't it the truth? Thank you. The end.
Each month we share our offering with a community organization that is in concert with the mission of this church. This month we share our offering with Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, or BLUE. BLUE provides information, resources, and support for Black Unitarian Universalists, and BLUE works to expand the role and visibility of Black UUs within our faith. BLUE provides guidance and best practices for the important work of congregations, supporting groups of Black UUs seeking to organize safely, spiritually, and effectively. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Each week we take time to name the joys and concerns of members of this community. We have 3 to name this morning. Sonia Whedon died yesterday after a long struggle with breast cancer. When she was active in our church, she served as a lay minister. She also sang in what was then the Chalice Choir. We hold her family as they mourn her loss. And we hold member Linda Craig this morning. Linda's partner, Kaylor Martinson, has decided to stop treatment for his blood disorder and wait for death in a hospice program. Linda asks for our prayers as she and Kaylor and his family live through this difficult time. And member Glenda Goldwater has been in the hospital for the last 10 days after declining for several weeks. Glenda will be moving into the Rose Snitzer Manor next week, where she can get the care that she needs. We hold her in our prayers. And we want you very much to reach out to us. There are several ways that you can do that. You can send a message to prayer@First Unitarian Portland if you want our lay ministers and ministers to hold you or someone you love in prayer. And if you have a parish concern that you want named in the service, send that to Parish Concerns at First Unitarian Portland. Will you pray with me now? Spirit of life and of love, source of hope that we seek and sometimes find, dear God, we hold all those today who are in pain, those who yearn for relief and look for light in their lives. We hold those who do not have enough, while so many of us have more than we need. We hold especially those who fear, with good reason, that they are not welcomed. Those who have been taught over and over that they do not matter, that they do not belong. And we hold all those who are moved to insist that the way things are is not the way things have to be. All those who reach out, speak up. All those who reach in and find the courage and the strength to speak the truth with love and insist that we shape a world that our children and our children's children might actually want to inhabit. Love and justice and even hope are under siege, and the danger is very real. Help us hold fast, Great Spirit. Help us trust that love is real. Help us believe. Help us hold that credo. Help us set our hearts upon it. Our lives depend on it. Help us prove, because we live it, that love truly is stronger than hate. Help us find in this community companions for the journey and accomplices in the subversive work of building the beloved community of our vision and our dreams. We are called, as have generations before been called, to make justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly. May we answer that call with a resounding yes. May that be so. And amen. Let's hold silence together now for a moment. Let's join in singing together. There is more love somewhere.
Our reading this morning is from the Reverend Michael Brown. Faith is not about choosing something to believe in and then hanging on for dear life. Faith lets go. Faith is a trusting in the creative process of life. It is moment by moment, unpredictable, creative, open-ended, spontaneous, responsive, and responsible, yet always directed towards more joy, more beauty, more love, more compassion, more justice. It doesn't need to be written down, and its secret cannot be memorized and recited on demand. The truth is not in the words, not in any formula, but in the experience, in the heart, in the moment-by-moment response to being alive.
Well, you done me and you bet I felt it but you're so hot that I melted. I fell right through the cracks, and now I'm trying to get back. Before the cool done run out, I'll be giving it my bestest, and nothing's gonna stop me but divine intervention. Reckon it's again my turn to win some or learn some, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. Hey, hey. Well, open up your mind and see like me. Open up your plans and damn, you're free. I'll look into your heart and you'll find love, 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 love. Listen to the music of the moment, people dance and sing. We're just one big family, and it's our God-forsaken right to be loved, love, 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 loved. So I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm sure there's no need to complicate. Our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours. And I've been spending way too long checking my tongue in the mirror and bending over backwards just to try to see clearer, but my breath fogged up the glass. So I drew a new face and I laughed. I guess what I've been saying is there ain't no better reason to rid yourself of vanities and just go with the seasons. It's what we aim to do. Our name is our virtue, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. Well, open up your mind and see like me. Open up your plans and damn, you're free. I look into your heart and you'll find that the sky is yours. So please don't, please don't, please don't. There's no need to complicate, 'cause our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours.
So this morning, I want to share my religious faith with you and how my faith deepens my sense of belonging to all people and to the universe. I have turned to my faith often in the months since the pandemic began to ground me and to guide me through this time that seems to get more surreal and more difficult and more dangerous with each news cycle. Many Unitarian Universalists cringe when I use the words religious faith. In our tradition, many equate religious faith with believing in ideas without logical or scientific evidence. However, the word faith, with no religious context, refers to what any person trusts to be true about the world and about life. What a person has faith in guides the decisions they make about how to live. People have faith in all sorts of things. Faith can be based on reason, experience, external evidence, or cultural expectation and tradition. People in our culture have faith in such ideas as somebody ensured the airplane we just got on has no mechanical problems. The water in our town is safe. Getting a good job, buying a house, and investing in retirement will ensure financial security and thus a good life. Since most of us are 21st century Americans, we probably have faith or have had faith in many of these propositions and have made decisions about how to live and conduct our lives based on them. However, none of these propositions is true all the time. Think of Detroit's water, Boeing's 737 MAX, market crashes right before retirement. Still, most of us persist in having faith in the above suppositions. The Hebrew word that is translated in modern Bibles as faith means steadfastness. All of us steadfastly direct our lives by certain ideas. Even if we know that getting a good job and buying a house doesn't always, every time, mean a good life, and that the water in the tap might not always be safe, we choose to live our lives by those ideas. We need to have faith in some things simply to function in our day-to-day lives. But what of religious faith? Isn't that different? I don't think so. Religious faith, like secular faith, guides the decisions we make about how to live. Only religious faith focuses on what binds us to each other and to the interconnected web. Religious faith guides us when we seek to become our best selves, live through despair, and build the beloved community. Religious faith is about what we trust to lead us towards love and justice and hope. It guides how we act to make our lives and the world better. For Christians, Jews, Muslims, and some Unitarian Universalists, their religious faith is in God. God is the one who has the power to help steer lives towards love and justice and hope. This faith provides direction to people. It helps one focus on what is most valuable in a life. When life is hard, a person can pray to and trust in God. One can follow religious traditions that have developed methods for aligning oneself with God. Modern secular culture and much of Unitarian Universalism teaches that what we can have faith in is ourselves. Both teach that it is our actions and our will to influence our actions that direct our living toward what we value most and love, justice, and hope. This is what I was taught growing up, that I was ultimately responsible for my own fate and for improving the world. The saving of the earth, our society, and ourselves, this implied, is achieved by what each one of us is able to do. We have faith in ourselves and our ability to make and act on good choices. And I think this is partly true. Often I have had faith in myself to do the right thing, to make a difference, and I do it. But not always. I can't always do it. I cannot do all that must be done, and often what I can do, I cannot do perfectly. If what I can will myself to do is responsible for creating a good life, a healthy planet, and the beloved community, then what I do matters tremendously, and it matters much more than I know that I can deliver. Many times, I simply don't know what to do. We all have these experiences. We decide to lose weight. Oh, I don't know, I won't do what I know to do, actually, is what I meant. We all have these experiences. We decide to lose weight, but we eat cake that very day that we make the decision. We decide to accept people exactly as they are, but find ourselves judging a difficult person in the next breath. We decide that we need to make a real difference, undoing structures that create racism and climate change, but instead we do very little. Other times I really don't know what to do. Does anyone really know the correct way to raise a child or deal with a really challenging family member? Do we know how to make Congress take action for suffering and dying Americans when they willfully will not? Do any of us have an action plan that we know for sure is going to work to create a culture and society that is not built on oppression? And I'm also really certain that sometimes I act in ways that hurt myself and the world that I'm not even conscious of. I know in my past I've behaved in ways that seemed so right and so appropriate in the moment, but now I realize they were damaging because I have seen their results. We are all learning how really normal features of white culture, such as perfectionism, comfort as a goal, conflict avoidance, and either-or thinking harm all of us, but particularly those our culture has decided are other or not worthy. How do I manage the reality that some of my unconscious ideas about what is normal and appropriate destroy the possibility of the beloved community I so desperately seek? What do I do in these moments? Where do I turn? What guides my actions? Faith in myself provides no guidance. I simply feel guilty, hopeless, and paralyzed. To respond effectively to the world and live with hope, I need something more than faith in myself and my ability to do what needs to be done. I knew a really wonderful man, and he had a really deep faith in God. He worked very hard each and every day of his life to make the world better for young people who struggled against oppression. But at the end of the day, he told me, I know that I have done my part, and the rest is up to God. I envied the man's commitment and the ability to do his part and then remain confident that his God continued to work while he rested. He was not guilty or hopeless or paralyzed. I desperately wanted that sort of faith. While I admired that man's faith in God, I also knew it was unlikely to be mine. I was raised by atheistic academic scientists. What I was trained to do and what seems as natural as breathing is to think academically, rationally, and scientifically. And it's not my tradition to have faith in God. It doesn't quite fit me. Still, my experience has demonstrated that this world is more mysterious than we can rationally understand. There is synchronicity, moments of grace, desire for patterns of beauty and justice, and the intensity and mystery of birth and death. My mind, experience, and heart tell me that there is something beyond myself that can guide me toward what is most valuable and hold me when I am in despair. Henry Nelson Wyman, an influential liberal theologian, in the early to middle part of the last century, helped me find what I'd been looking for. For Wyman, the question of the religious journey was, what can transform people in such a way to save them from the depths of evil and bring them to the greatest good which life can ever attain? He had two answers. The first answer is what we can will ourselves to do, the emphasis of secular and much of Unitarian Universalist culture, and what I was taught. He called that ethics. His second answer addressed the question about what transforms us when we cannot transform ourselves. What, in other words, can we have faith in to help us when we are hopeless, when we don't behave as we want to behave, when we don't know what to do or don't realize our own limitations? His answer was creativity. He called it the creative event. Very simply, the creative event brings together a person's experience of the world's diversity, mixes it within a person, and changes the person so they can experience new, deeper relationships. Through creative events, a person's life and the world become richer, more meaningful, more full of love, and more just. Wyman's creative event is a form of creativity, and he often simply just called it creativity. However, it is not artistic creativity, or what people who paint or write or make films do. It's not something only creative people get to have. It is creative in a much larger sense, the coming together of diverse experiences that change a person in an unexpected way. Instead of artistic creativity, it might be good to think about it as life creativity. One important element of this type of creativity, or any creativity actually, is that we do not control it. We cannot make the creative event happen through our will or our desire. We can also not decide how it will change us. Wyman says the creative event cannot be used to shape the world closer to the heart's desire, because it transforms the heart's desire so that one wants something very different from what one desired in the beginning. However, we can lead our lives to make creative events more likely to happen. And this is very similar to artistic creativity. Artists and writers practice their craft. It is the rare, rare artist who wakes up and paints a masterpiece without having practiced and studied painting regularly. Instead, most artists talk about how they show up to work, and sometimes on the best days, the creative muse arrives, and something happens that surprises and delights the artist and everyone else as well. This idea of necessary practice and preparation applies to Wyman's creative events as well. You need to develop skills and attitudes that make the creative event more likely in your life. The primary practice required by Wyman is engagement with the world. He calls this the creative interchange. We must reach out beyond our own understanding to appreciate and listen to the other, whether this is a pine cone, our friend, someone with the opposite political views, or extraordinarily different life experiences, or our own mysterious breath. We must reach out with our time, with our attention, and with our heart. Wyman also felt that creative events were more likely to happen if we spent time in silence and prayer and worship engaged with others in small groups that sustained themselves and met over time. Still, even with all this preparation, we cannot will the creative event to happen. It is out of our power. It is beyond us. Wyman's idea of the creative event seems true to me. The operating principle of the universe appears to be creativity, the combining of diverse elements to make something new. That's how we got atoms, molecules, flowers, blueberries, and us. The operating principle of human culture also appears to be creativity. That's how we got democracy, the English language, jazz, and Unitarian Universalism. So it makes sense that a type of creativity would be what makes human change possible, helps us live more by our values, pulls us out of despair, and aligns our lives with love, justice, and hope. I have experienced the transforming power of creative events, certainly many times. But I have one particular story that demonstrates this change. It happened in Spokane many, many years ago when boycotting Walmart was really important in liberal circles. I took Spokane Alliance leadership training. The Spokane Alliance brings together churches with wide theological differences, unions, educational institutions, and nonprofit agencies to work for meaningful, nonpartisan political change. Their philosophy is that people work together better across differences if they know each other. They do this through one-on-one meetings, where each person shares thoughts and feelings on a specific question, while the other person just listens, and then they trade places. While practicing one-on-one meetings, I was paired with a woman very, very different from me in age, in class, in her political affiliation, and her religious belief. And she began to discuss Walmart. I boycotted Walmart because of their labor practices. She did all her shopping there and was bitterly angry with people who criticized Walmart. At first, I was surprised at her bitterness. All the people I knew who shopped at Walmart felt really guilty about it. And then I felt superior. I understood the issues. I was ethical. I stood up for what I believed in. But because the assignment was to listen, I listened. And because I listened, I experienced her fear of living on a fixed income, prices rising, and her standard of living slipping, until she saw herself homeless. Walmart prices allowed her to live with a standard of living that she was used to, at least for that moment. And then I understood how Walmart is the result of a society that values consumerism above all else, and where the poor are getting poorer. It was fine for me, financially secure, to be all superior in my Walmart boycott. But Walmart and other low-price retail companies are not going anywhere with their labor practices and philosophy of closing local retail economies until the root causes of poverty and consumerism are addressed. I had listened, and I had changed. I no longer felt superior. I knew I needed this woman to work for justice and to end poverty. Love, justice, and hope increased in the world in that moment. What I learned is that both of us, with vastly different perspectives, vastly different life stories and truths, needed each other. We belonged to each other. We could not get to the truth and find new and creative ways of solving entrenched problems without one another. We all belong to the interdependent web, and the creative event is the act that weaves the web in unexpected and entirely new ways. And I have faith in that. My faith in creativity has changed my approach to life. When I don't do what I think I should, or when I don't know what to do, I try to remember my commitment to creativity. And I always remember I cannot will the creative event to happen. It is like my friend with his faith in God. He did his part and let God do the rest. I do my part and let the creative power work. This moment in history is one where I have depended on my faith more than ever. The world and our country are in the worst crisis of my lifetime. Faced with a pandemic and global warming, the fault lines of neoliberal global capitalism are bright and clear, like bones on an X-ray. People are suffering now and will suffer more as the pandemic continues to rage with very little control. The economy continues its collapse, and storms and heat destroy. As usual, the poor and the oppressed are hurting the most. This reality feels both surreal and overwhelming. And I really just often want to crawl away, replay the Hamilton soundtrack, and eat some more ice cream. My faith in creativity, though, guides me. It reminds me that I belong to a web of existence that is always recreating and reweaving itself. And I am asked to engage deeply with what appears before me with an open heart and an open mind. I am asked to listen across difference and stay open to transformation through meditation, prayer, and worship. I am asked to love, love, love. I have faith that things will transform. Creativity weaves the web of life. And my presence and your presence are the lines of energy it uses to weave. Our love, our openness, our actions are placed in the hands of a force much greater and more powerful than ourselves. And this makes everything possible. Amen. Will you pray with me now? Creative force who breaks down, weaves together, and transforms, be with us during these days that are just too hot, causing pain and suffering and continual fear. Be with us as we struggle every day to make choices about our own safety and the safety of others from a virus no one completely understands. Be with us as we engage the challenging work of dismantling a society and economic system based on exploiting Black, brown, and indigenous people. Be with us. And always help us to remember we are not alone. We are never alone, that we have each other. Remind us that we always belong to each other in the fantastic, amazing web of life. Help us say completely yes and open ourselves to your transforming power. Amen. Let us now sing completely yes. us say yes and have faith that the broken can always be remade, and more joy, more beauty, more love, more compassion, and more justice are always possible. When we belong to each other and the universe, everything is possible. This is the day we've been given. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.